Well, hey, on today's episode, we have a guest talking to us about his art and a near-death experience. Come on, welcome to the show, Bump Galletta. Awesome. Well, hey, we have Bump on the show with us today. Welcome, man. Thanks for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man, this is cool. We met hung out like a week ago, but I feel like we've been in this city for so long together, and I've definitely ran into you. We were neighbors at one point for a little while.
I'm sure our paths crossed on Halloween a few times.
Yeah, no doubt, especially in that neighborhood too. But it's good to have you on the show, man, and good to meet you a little bit. Would love to learn a little bit more about like your connection to Lakeland, and obviously get into your story a little bit.
Yeah, and real quick, because I'm surprised you now. I brought you some gifts. Every time I get a chance to talk to somebody for something like this, I bring gifts, and so I'm just gonna do one at a time. So the first is I saw you have kids, so I got you one of my coloring books.
Oh, that's so cool.
Color in Lakeland.
Dude,
Lakeland.
This is sick.
Always because my art and aesthetics pretty much black and white, and a lot of people say, "Hey, I would love to color it." And so
my boys will love this, dude.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
And then me and my friend Ida, we just put out a new kids book called Begin.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
This is probably the hardest I ever worked on a project because we self-published, printed, everything's done ourselves. And so I did the book how I've always wanted, where it's hardcover. There's inside artwork on the cover.
Dude. And
then just also for things people are not used to seeing from me, it's in color.
That's cool, man.
So this is for you and your kids.
Dude, thank you so much.
And
this is awesome.
I love stickers. I'm a punk rock kid, a skater kid, so I always slap stickers on everything.
Yes.
And I guess Lakeland, the city, has just deemed stickers illegal stickers or whatever. So if you're in downtown Lakeland, you might see my stickers on places. I don't know how they got there. But anyway.
Certainly wasn't you. Yeah.
So I made some stickers from my favorite pages in the book. So there's those for your kids.
Dude, this is awesome.
They're vinyl. They're
Dude, my boys have already got that. I love stickers, and I've always been like the stickers go over all the water bottles that I have.
Oh, heck yeah.
And it's already gotten to my son. It's mostly honestly just the public stickers that he gets every day, but he slaps those on his water bottle.
I've made so many stickers, and I always carry them with me, and I just like to slap them on things.
Dude, this is sick. Dude, thank you so much, man. It's cool. Ida is actually our neighbor, like not too far, just like down the street. Yeah, off of Success. Our boys love going over to their house because of the pig they have in the backyard.
Sorry for doxing you, Ida, but yeah, somewhere in
Sorry. Oh yeah. So if you want to know, it's a longer street. It's not really.
And one last one is I'm an ambassador for a Japanese pen company called Tombow.
Neat.
And so they signed me on years ago, and they give me free pens, free tools, free art supplies, any type of package. Anytime there's a new release, I get it first, along with a few others. And they, ask us just to show us, use them in our projects. And so anyway, these are the pens I use. I'm considered their line art or their black and white.
This is
pen
awesome.
Guy. And so those are their multi or mono pens. And pretty much all my artwork starts out as pencil, and then I ink over it. And those are my favorite pens I use.
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's some fun goodies
for
you.
I love this. Thank you. Dude, what's actually super interesting about this, I've seen this, and I'm glad you brought this because I wasn't thinking about this yet, but the children's book. My wife and I actually wrote a children's book awesome. Like years ago, and I saw this and I was like, oh, dude, this is so cool. So I know a little bit of that, the walkthrough of like getting something published. You guys did it all by yourself. So
the first one was called Goodnight Lakeland. So it's all our favorite
I've seen
spots
that one.
of Lakeland.
Yeah.
And everybody assumed that when we said we're doing a second book, it'll be a sequel. I'm like, no, man, we got to make something that's for everybody everywhere.
Yeah.
And so Ida had this phenomenal story, and there's even a letter in the back where it explains where the story came from.
That's awesome,
But the idea is just everybody wants to try and do new things. Everybody has, thoughts about wanting to do something new or get out there. But in this day and age in society, we feel to try something new or to do something, we have to be the best, an expert. We have to be as big as Dude Perfect or somebody on TikTok or whatever.
Yes.
Instead of just go have fun. Just do it. Who cares? Who cares if it flops? Who cares if nothing happens? Who cares if you just do something new? And so the book is encouraging people like, you don't have to be first.
Dude.
You don't have to get an award or a trophy. You can just go play music, go sing, go play a sport, go, do stuff with your friends, go watch something.
It's such a good lesson, dude. It's such a good lesson for kids to know, but also for like adults. Like I probably need some of that too.
We've had a lot of adults say, "Oh, that hit home." We're like, "Well, that's the idea," because I feel a lot of people are stagnant now, afraid to do stuff because they feel like if I guess everybody's so focused on views and counts and likes instead of just experience and life and cutting yourself off. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's a fun book too.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to share this with them. Thank you so much.
no problem. Thanks
This
for
is
having me,
cool.
so.
Dude, even that thought though, I feel like I've had so many people on this show that have come here and talked about how, there is that like urge, or I guess that temptation, or like fear, I guess that's the better word, when you get into something and following after your dream, to be like comparing yourself to somebody that's 20, 30 years down the road, like even with the podcast thing, like the other podcast that you could compare yourself to, where there's like, someone who's been a celebrity for 20 years or whatever. It's like, oh man, like it could make you not even want to attempt. But dude, just going for it. And even if it's, not for the largest audience in the world, it's like for an audience that you enjoy and what gives you life,
And I got some advice I've shared on a few things I've done before, but what helped me with how my life changed and trajectory was my wife got me a kid's book because she knew I liked art, knew I liked to draw and wanted to do things. And the book kind of gave you all the ins and outs of how to do a kid's book, how to make one and put it out. But it gave you two options. The first option that most people know is you put something together, you send it into an editor or an agent or a publisher and just hope you get discovered, hope you can break through and you'll have something that's different and special. And a lot of people I know who have published books, it took over 10 years of just doing that. But the book explained there's a whole process of doing it. It's very hard, very difficult. You're one in a zillion trying for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Or the way that I like, the grassroots way, is just own your town. Just take over your town, do as much as you can for your town, make a name for yourself there, and let that flourish. So when people do come through, like, hey, who should we check out or find? They're like, oh, so-and-so here does this or this or this, or your stuff just stands out in different shops or places, location. And so one thing I just realized that people weren't doing, I'm not saying I'm the first to do it.
Yeah.
But I just started doing the landmark pieces. I just started drawing all the landmarks here in Lakeland because we have a lot of crazy stuff. We have the Southgate Arch. We have the Sputnik spiky tower I love. The terrace, the gates at the promenade, all our lakes. And so I just started doing those things, and one thing led to another. And
Yeah. It's awesome, dude. It's really cool, man. Even like the story of what you said too. I know we were talking about this before we even started the podcast too, but the comparison thing, it's especially if you spend too much time on social media or too much time on the internet, you can easily fall into this trap of like comparison, how many people viewed my post that I just made, or how many people are following me or unfollowing me,
Or you see someone else doing your idea, or you just see like, oh, they did it so well, there's no way I can. And that's all the excuses we make for ourselves for why we don't do something. And so just like, go for it. Just try it.
100%, man. Yeah, it's tough it's definitely tough to get through, I think, like psychologically sometimes, because especially like we were both talking about this, for me personally, like the dream would be at some point to like somebody run the social media for this podcast for me, and I can just like step off. It's not because I think it's evil or some people can't handle it. I just feel like I would love to be able to be less defined by it, or just less like, focused on it, where, I'm actually jealous of some of the people. There was a guy that came on here a couple of weeks ago, Manny. He doesn't have it. He hasn't had social media in forever. That's awesome. And it's just like, dude, I'm kind of jealous of you.
I am jealous of
that.
Yeah. For me, it's a tool for my business. But as a person, that was never something I feel like I did a lot of fun, crazy things as a teenager, as a kid. And it never was for like the look at me. It was just like, this is wild. Let's go climb on a roof of a church, or let's go like skateboarding down this really steep hill, or these things. It wasn't like, get the cameras out, make sure you get me from these angles. Is there lights? It was never about that. And now, even yesterday, I'm walking around in downtown Lakeland to drop off a book to a client. Yeah. And there's people out there with all their ring lights and stuff, taking pictures on the streets and in front of murals. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, dude, what's crazy is like, what's different for our kids is our kids really don't know any different, or they won't know any different. You and I have both been alive in a time where like there was non-existent, and then all of a sudden it was, Dude, for me, social media started for me when I took one of my first college classes. I think I had like MySpace before that, so that was about it. But one of my first college classes was like intro to something. It might have been intro to college, but they made us download a LinkedIn, a Twitter, a Facebook, and Instagram. All of that, and create one. So I was like, well, I got to do it for school. And so that's how I got like
Yeah, that's how you got
started in social media.
Can you
Was they made me, you know.
I mean, my closest to technology in school was computer class and just trying to see how we could type a certain amount of words a minute.
Right.
I ended up playing these tank battle games instead.
Yeah, dude. But cool. Well, I do want to talk a little bit about like, obviously, so many Lakelanders would know who you are from the art around town. You know, I know like some of your murals are like, there's one within like well, it's not Beacon Starbucks anymore, but it used to be. It's like the new Starbucks in that area, Southgate and all that. Tell us a little bit about like how you came to Lakeland and maybe when that happened for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a whole different life space now than I was, but before I came to Lakeland, I was working at a small little independent Baptist church, not the crazy independent, just independent.
Yeah. Got to clarify
I was
that.
a youth pastor there, and the only reason I did it is my dad's a pastor. I'm a PK, so I, did not want to do that, but I just noticed everywhere I would go, whether it's a punk or hardcore show or a skate park or where I'm at, I would just end up. I talk to anybody. Nobody's a stranger to me, so I just.
Yeah.
But people somehow get into a spiritual conversation or a life talk or just going through some difficult situations. And I just felt there was something going on there and I should be better use of it. And so I started volunteering at a church that my wife went to, but we were dating at the time. And sorry, I got to back up a little bit. We were in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And it was a mega Baptist church. And if you know anything about this type of churches, it's very boring, very stiff. I mean, they may see it differently than I do, but that's just how it appears.
Well, compared to maybe some of the churches like you and I go to, or it's definitely a different style for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to knock it. It's just for appearance's sake.
Yeah.
But I was really big into skateboarding and punk rock, and I had a lot of friends like that. And we noticed every time we go to skate park, we have these cool interactions. Kids know that we were nice, and we were all like skate in these lines or groups and hang out. And so I went to the youth pastor of this church. I'm like, hey, this is a crazy idea, but would you give me a van and a classroom and let me start a skate class? And what we do is every Saturday we would get a van, go pick up all these kids. This is before things are crazy now. This is like years ago. This is over 25 years ago.
Yeah, picking up kids in a van just doesn't happen.
And we would hit these different skate parks like Kona, the St. Augustine Park. There was the dude who had a skate park in the woods in his backyard. And we would go skate. And then when we got the chance of sitting and chilling, we would just get conversation and talk about our faith and life. And then the one reason I asked for a separate classroom and things like that is because sometimes there's a stigma at churches about how you look, how you behave, how you carry yourself. And Baptist churches have sort of a performance on how they do their services and, hold themselves and how they dress. And I'm coming in with kids in their skate shirts and clothes. Some of the shirts may be inappropriate or whatever. But the youth pastor was pretty cool. He let it all happen. He even gave me a credit card for gas.
And that's some trust.
And it went well. We called it the Nehemiah class just based on how like Nehemiah had to ask a crazy question and got permission. So we thought that was our cool theme. And my brother-in-law, Matt, helped me out with it and a couple other people. And then we added like a surf group. So we go surfing as well.
That's cool.
So then I felt, all right, maybe this is, God speaking to me like, hey, let's take this a step further. So I just called a friend who I knew had connections. I'm like, hey, I think God or somebody or something, just this, how everything's going in my life, I should be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Do you have any connections or hookups or whatever? He's like, let me look. A week later to the day, he called me. I got a church for you here in Brandon. So it was a country church. It was like inside of an orange grove, really small, like one of those little warehouse, the general type buildings.
Nice.
And I came in there wearing long sleeves, had a cool interview. And at the very end, he's like, is there anything you want to tell us? I'm like, just one little thing. I said, I have quite a few tattoos. None are inappropriate, but I have a lot. I look like a sailor or something. He's like, it's all good. My son has tattoos. So I'm like, all right, awesome. And we just met in this youth house. And over the 10 years I was there or so, the group just grew so big that we outgrew the house. And we ended up taking over the main church building. And the adults had to go to the youth house. And the pastors had changed. And the pastors at the time, the new ones, weren't fond of that. They wanted everything back. And the city started putting all these rules and regulations. And usually when there's a leadership change at the church, that's a clear sign that you need to kind of clear out.
Something's going to,
And so that's how I got to Lakeland. I did everything you weren't supposed to do for a job hunt and how, like, when they reach out to you, like, hey, can you see a resume? Like, I called them immediately, like, let's get coffee, let's talk, let's forget all the schmoozy and all this stuff beforehand. And they're like, all right, let's do it. So we met like at a Panera and everything worked out. And I worked at that church for 10 years. And then, we kind of parted ways at that point. And then my art took off and here I am today.
Well, going back to the first part of that, I absolutely love my cousin actually did the same thing, which is small. Like he was a youth pastor, and he was, I'd say like pro skater. He like moved out to California for a year or so, and then just kind of gave it up because he knew he was going to marry his now wife and wanted to be back with her, and so he moved back to PA. But when he came back, he's insane at skating, dude. I've also seen how insane he is that I fully trust him, like letting him hold my youngest son while he goes and skates through bowls. Like I just trust him that much.
Yeah, they have that gift, man.
Yeah, he's got a crazy gift, dude. But he connected with so many students over skating. He did the same thing. He'd go pick them up, bring them to the church, and this was like out in the country of Pennsylvania. And like created a little like skate park in the basement of the church.
That's awesome.
It was really cool, but I say that I love that so much, and I think that there's even like a move now where I just see this, maybe lack of a better term, is like there's this authenticity coming back around like how we reach people for conversations like that, like conversations about Christ and about God, like not necessarily having to put all this major focus on the service or what you'd expect of like a coffee meeting or whatever, but like, hey, maybe you want to go skate or surf, or we talked about that. Like I loved surfing, or just meeting somebody where they're at and having those kind of, that's also a gift too, you know, of like being able to have those conversations in places like that.
And it's also knowing the right time, because I used to work at a skate park. I got to run one for a couple years. And it was on the property of a Christian resort Bible college camp. It was like the super everything there. And they wanted the college students to come out there and practice their things they're learning in school. And I'm like, let's do it in a way that's respectful of them too, because these are people coming here for a skate park.
Yeah.
They're not coming to get preached at or churched, you know? And so I just said, this is what works for me. I want to be authentic about it and how we handle these conversations and these kids. And I don't want to ruin this opportunity here, because there's not a closer skate park.
Yeah.
And so every once in a while I had to ask a student to leave because they wouldn't heed my warnings. And I know this will sound bad to some people, but they would get on top of the ramps as a kid's about to drop in and like, hey, can I read this Bible verse to you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get the dedication.
Well, no, that's not bad. But
I'm like,
it's a bad approach.
Yeah, because the kid's like, some dude pulled his Bible out when I'm dropping in. I mean, you're going to make a kid either fall or get hurt, or you're going to really turn somebody off.
Yeah.
And they're going to also think you're kind of a little psycho that you're, because, you know, everybody has a great testimony story how it happened. And there's also the bad stories of how things happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But it had great results, met a lot of great kids. And this is back in the day before social media internet was huge. I did a few competitions at this park.
Yeah.
And the only way to get stuff is you had to reach out to these companies. So I was just like, hey, I run a nonprofit skate park. I'm going to do a competition for local kids. Can I have some free stuff?
Yeah.
And just hoping and send it out there either as an email back in the day.
Worth a shot.
Juno.com or Hotmail and sure enough, man, all the big skate companies and BMX companies sent me so much free stuff. And it was I could not believe how much stuff they gave. And it was awesome. So we would have competitions, and by the end, everybody got a skateboard and shirt and sticker and pads because I got so much stuff. I didn't like want to hoard it, and I love to give gifts.
That's cool, man. Dude, I do agree what you said. I think that maybe some people would disagree with that, but I think that is a bad approach of like, you know, because I think it's like people see the inauthenticity in that of, hey, if you don't allow me to, like, our first ever interaction is to me to read a Bible verse to you and you're not receptive of it, and then I just never talk to you again, then it's like, oh, that person didn't, it feels like that person didn't care about me. Even if you tried to come at it in a very caring way, it comes off as like, oh, you were just another number and I can get another number somewhere else.
It's like a sales pitch or as a telemarketing or a pyramid scheme where you got tricked, like something cool is going to happen, and all of a sudden, like, boom, you got, you know.
Yeah.
And so I just like, everybody's going to, it's hot, it's Florida, they're going to take a break and get some water. And like, hey, what's going on? Where are you from? Do you live nearby? Do your folks skate? You know, just converse, get to know the kid, get on a first name basis with them. And then, I mean, because you're about to talk about, you know, spiritual things, biblical things. For them, it may sound fantasy because some people don't know anything about the Bible or God or church. And here you're like, this dude came from heaven and lived here and did all these things. And they're like, what, you know, what anime are you talking about? They're not going to, because even when I was a youth pastor, I had kids that had no idea half the stuff we were saying were like real Bible stories or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just know that if this is meant to be, God will make opportunities happen and work out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also like, I think it's a win too, to show someone that you're more, like, you're very invested into them no matter the initial outcome or no matter how long the outcome takes. the guy that I would attribute to helping me, like leading me to Christ, my youth pastor from, I mean, I wasn't much of a youth. I didn't have much, like I was like 17. So I was like already pretty much aged out right at the very end. But I was in a band. We talked about that. I don't think we were like as like super successful. We did one cool, like we recorded an album kind of like right at the tail end before I left. But it's a recording studio in Atlanta, but I just remember Under Oath's drum set still being there. Oh. And I was like, this is sick.
Matt Goldman's studio?
It might be. Dude, I can't really remember the name of it.
Record in Atlanta out there. My wife's from Atlanta, so we go there like every year.
But we could only afford, our time slot was like 11 p.m. to like 6 a.m. So that was what we could afford. But anyways, the youth pastor that came out, he would just come to all of our shows and he would just make it a point to like say hey to me, great job, you're crushing it. And that was it. And so he just kept coming and coming. And then he finally, like said, hey, do you want to grab like a coffee or go hang out something? I was like, sure. And then he asked me, he's like, would you ever want to play for like our worship team?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I was like, and at the point too, I was like, I was looking for any chance I could to play music. So I was like, sure, I'll do that. And that kind of, long story short, led me there. But I say that to say there was the authenticity,
What instrument did you play?
I play guitar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And honestly, I still play a little bit here and there. I need to like, 2 kids and busy and stuff like that has definitely like pulled it back a little bit. But
I'll tell you this real quick. My first church, like I don't listen to a lot of like Christian music or worship music. It's just not me. It's nothing. It's just I don't get into it too much. But a lot of the kids that were coming to this youth group were scene kids, as we call them. We would go to like see like hardcore shows on the weekend, and so they would ask, "Can we help play the music?" I'm like, "All right." So here we are doing whatever, like Chris Tomlin songs or whatever. But then we would add like blast beats or breakdowns and stuff like that, and just so funny because you're like, it's got its moments and stuff. But I'm like, let's add a little fun twist to it, and just having a kid have a double bass drum on a worship song is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But that kept them coming, kept them involved, opened doors for more kids, and it was just a lot of fun back then doing it that way.
That's cool, man. Well, dude, so you've been in Lakeland now for quite a while, right? That was 2000, early
2008. So we've been here like 17 years.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, I know that from part of your story, we talked about this before, before the podcast, but was you had a pretty life-changing experience, well, you weren't in Lakeland, but it was during the time of you living in Lakeland, even before, obviously, the art and stuff like that has pretty much kind of led you to this place and changed a lot for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the thing, I've been drawing my whole life. It's always, but I never would put it out there. Every once in a while, like if there was a church function, could somebody help paint this? I would do things like that. Even we went on a mission trip to Belize once, and I had a chance. And my first mural I ever did was in Belize, where there's like this little church out in the middle of nowhere. Cool. And I'm like, these walls are pretty rough. Y'all have some extra paint. And they let me and this group of teenagers do all these little Bible stories on the walls. So that was
You ever been back to it?
No, I've never.
Oh, that would be
That's
cool.
the only time I've been out of the country.
Yeah.
And, I don't travel, like fly well, or I get motion sickness, all those things. But it was pretty cool. But yeah, I think it was 2010. My sister-in-law Jane was graduating from nursing school, so we always like to go and celebrate and cheer on everybody. So we went up to Jacksonville for one day, like one night, and I had taken up cycling. So I was doing mainly just, it sounds silly, but I just didn't want to have to eat healthy or lift weights. So I took up cycling so I can kind of still be normal, but I can just kind of be a little bit more in shape. And I just, put on music or a podcast. I don't even know if podcasts were, anyway.
There had to be a couple.
Something. So near my father-in-law's house, they had just put a trail. This is in Orange Park, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It's like an 8-mile loop. I'm like, let me do this quick loop. We'll put the bike on and head back home. It's like a 3-hour drive back to Lakeland, or 3.5 for my father-in-law. And I was in the safest place you can be. I was in front of a middle school as school was about to start. The road next to the school was in the construction zones. There's warning signs. There's a barrier. There's crossing guards. I mean, everything you need to have a very safe.
Felt very safe.
Yeah. And I had the right of way to cross this entrance. And this person, who I believe was a staff at the school, was running late, tried to beat me to the punch. And thankfully, a sheriff officer had just stepped out from like a break or something. He just stepped outside. And a lot of this, I don't have full memory.
Sure, being told this is what happened. Yeah.
But she struck me with her car, and it threw me like 25 feet. And since she was going quite fast, she ended up running over me with her car, all four wheels. And I think she was on my bike, but she thought she was still on me. So she reversed the car and ended up backing back over me. And so I had about, I don't know, over 25 broken bones.
Eesh.
And it's wild. I remember, like, I think I again, like, my recollection is so hard from this accident because of all the trauma from it. But I think I tried to stand up and I just noticed, like, it looked like somebody had dumped a bucket of blood because I had a big slice over my eye and forehead. And thankfully I was wearing a helmet. I think that's what kind of kept me alive.
Thank God, yeah.
But yeah, man. And I just, I'm laying there. I hear people gathering around like, is he dead? You know, you hear things that people, next time you're at an accident, you probably should watch what you say because we can hear you laying there. And the paramedics and police got there pretty quick. And I'm like, I'm trying to talk, but I can't talk well. And I realize something's wrong. And the guy's like, dude, we're trying to keep you alive right here. You just hang still. And I even remember blacking out and waking up to them slapping me like you would see in a movie. He was like, stay with us. And they told me, like, they got to life flight me as fast as they can. And due to the location, they had to throw me in an ambulance. And so I'm in and out of consciousness for this, and they're all trying to keep me alive. And the one thing I remember from it is just getting on the helicopter. They're loading me up, and I see the guy with the helmet and the mustache like you would see in any movie, and the aviators. And I'm like, this is my first helicopter ride. And, you know, that was it. And then next thing I wake up being lowered in the elevator, and my wife and nobody knew. They didn't.
I was about to ask that.
Because the only thing to survive this whole accident, I mean, my helmet was ruined, my bike was crushed, I was covered in blood, but the only thing that survived was my iPhone. My headphones, everything was jacked. I still have the helmet. That's it. But so they just laid the phone on my chest, and somehow the school got a hold of my father-in-law. So by the time my wife, who was 8.5 months pregnant with our second child, Finn, by the time they got to the school where it happened, I was gone. But it was taped off. There was like CSI homicide trucks there.
That's got to be an awful feeling.
So they think I'm dead till they find out. And so she finally finds me in the trauma unit, and it's rough. And then the sheriff comes in to read us the report. And you got to realize I'm doped up. I'm in so much shock. I'm in so much pain. I'm half in there now. He starts reading off what had happened, and we're like, she backed over. You know, we just couldn't believe that. And then, you know, of course, I find out like all my ribs were broken, both my collarbones, my pelvis. We didn't realize till after I left the hospital that both my hands had breaks in them, and because he just tried to.
What's crazy is you kind of remember some of this,
some of these things, because it's like the only reason I remember those is because I've been to so many doctor's appointments, so many scans. I have this thing called Horner syndrome, where like an artery was slashed in my head from the accident, so I have a lazy eye kind of. But the way I wear my glasses kind of helps. But if I take my glasses off, you can notice one eye's kind of closing the other one. And I just remember being at that doctor's appointment, and the doctor's giving me the bad news, how it's incurable. Any medication I take is outrageous. But the whole time he's telling me this, and I'm just getting bummed, like, oh, my eye's going to be permanent. This is a permanent injury. He's got all these students here, and they're just writing notes. I'm like, is it right for you to give me bad news in front of these kids?
Could I have a moment?
And he's like, it's their class. I'm like, holy crap, dude. But like, he had these special eye drops, and they're like $300 or $400 to put them in. I had to make my eyelids stay open for like an hour. But again, it's just a miracle I survived. I had to go to Seattle for a rare special surgery because my collarbone was broken in two places, and both ends were dislocated. And so the one closest to my throat, where the bone broke, it's near the tip. And so my artery, which is in your neck, was stuck between that and the bone. So we went to multiple surgeons here in Florida. All of them said no, because they're like, if we touch that artery, you're going to bleed to death and die before we can even save you. Because it's like one of the biggest arteries in your body. And so my mom heard the story about a lady having a special surgery. She reached out to this guy and had to fly out to Seattle for a consultant. And then we had to fly a couple more times for surgery. And it's a miracle. He made a special medical one-of-a-kind turtleneck he put over my artery, then performed the surgery. He rebuilt my shoulder and my collarbone, and they hollowed out my bone and took all the marrow out, and then put a special pin to hold it together for a year. And a year later, I went back. They pulled the pin out and put the old marrow back in the bone.
They saved it. Wow, that's wild.
And the other thing is, again, like I have quite a few tattoos. I have a huge one on my chest. He said, I made sure I cut along the lines of your tattoos.
Oh, what a guy.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. How kind. That's awesome.
But it was wild. I mean, so that was traumatic. But then a little after the accident, my friends and my wife and family let me know there was stuff off with me. And I didn't realize I was very sterile, very non-emotional, very non-connected. And so it was kind of like an intervention in a sense. And so they're like, you need to get some therapy, some serious counseling, because it was affecting everything. And I did. You know, a lot of men especially have pride about counseling and therapy.
For sure.
We don't need it. We can handle it. We'll take care of it. But I'm telling you, talking to a complete stranger will change your life. And that's kind of like the whole next chapter, where it led to like some art things happening, but it was just more therapy. It wasn't necessarily for the art, but she's like, the main thing was like, you have PTSD. And I'm like, I can't have that. I wasn't in the military.
Yeah.
Because at the time, that's how we always associate.
Because everybody
PTSD.
thinks about it that way.
It's a military term. It's from a firefight. It's a battle. Seeing your friends, you know, lose their lives. And she's like, no, when you have a near-death experience, post-traumatic stress disorder. And so I just got educated on that. And, you know, but anyway, it was a very wild multiple years for my family and my wife. And like, as all this is going on, like my wife just had her second child. And so you got to realize like, that's a big deal. And I'm in the hospital, like all the bones I broke, you can't cast so I have to carry these pillows to rest my arms to support my body on, because I'm heavily medicated on every type of heavy drug. Jeez. And, you know, I'm trying to be supportive for my wife and she, you know, she's a trooper, taking care of the family.
I can't imagine.
And me, you know, just
dude, now that your years, and I've never gone through anything like that. I have had like gone through therapy and counseling and stuff like that. And that's kind of the point that I want to get to. But like, do you feel like now that you're past it, looking back on that season, was it like just a feeling of, oh man, like my life's forever changed? Like I'm not like kind of, you know what I mean? Like that weight that was on your shoulders, is that kind of what felt like it brought you down?
I felt like I'm definitely a different person, but I was not knowing how to deal with it, because what led to it is like, I would wake up screaming in the middle of the night. Just because anytime I close my eyes, I immediately flash back to the accident. And what I typically see is, I remember being underneath the car and it just kind of goes black and back into reality, and just see the car moving over me, you know, like tires are about to run over my body. And so I would constantly see that, and I would just wake up, and my wife's like, you know, it's kind of, you know, traumatizing just to see that kind of thing. But also just I'm always in those thoughts and not knowing how to deal with it. And most people have their first panic attack or anxiety attack. You don't know what it is. You think you're having a heart attack. You think you're having breathing issues, or you need a professional to tell you what these are and how to 100%. Deal with them. And I'm not a very prideful person, I don't think. And so when people like point stuff out, I try like, all right, you know, if you're seeing it, I trust you. And, you know, I love my family. I don't want to be the one that's holding my family back or hurting my family. And I'm thankful somebody said something, because I mean, who knows if no one did give me any advice, if, you know, where I would be.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it's, again, I give it all to God for keeping me safe and bringing it to us where we are today. And I have a lot of friends and family that have walked away from their faith for less things and stuff like that. And I mean, everybody has their reasons for staying or leaving, but for me, it just, I'm like, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole nother story I can talk for hours on about acupuncture, how that changed my life, where I was kind of walking hunched over and things like that. And somebody just kept on me. They never gave up telling me to go try it. And when I was at my last resort, took it, and it changed the way I live and handle my life these days. Wow. But it's just crazy to think, you know, where we were before and to where we are now. And
it's so awesome to hear, man. Yeah, it's the point that you said too, of like how, like I the pride thing, like I've dealt with that for sure a time or two in my life, of feeling like, oh no, man, I have it together. Like I gotta have it together. You know, that feeling. Yeah. And the kind of, maybe it sounds like a little thing, but it's certainly not. Like going to talk to someone who is a professional, whether you feel like this is a small problem or a big problem, it's great to have the feedback of people that are closest to you. Because you often may feel like, oh, this is not that big of a deal, and you don't realize how much it's affecting others. Dude, there was not to go long, but there was a season of my life I remember where I was just dealing with so much anxiety. And it honestly comes back to, we talked about at the very beginning, I was like judging myself on people that were twice my age, you know what I mean, where I should be. But like, I was like so afraid to like be in my house by myself because of the anxiety that I had. Right. And my wife was like, you got to do something about this. So like going to talk to a professional, I say that to say, it's crazy how much that can do for you. Yeah. And being able to flesh that stuff out. Cause some of what for you, flesh this out is to kind of kind of diving deeper into your art, right?
Yeah, because the counselor, she gave me some advice. She gave me some exercises because sometimes we do need to change up our lifestyle, whether it's diet or health or mental health. And for me, and I think everybody needs to just consider and check into that. That's just like my personal opinion because what it's done for us and others. But she gave me a simple exercise. She says, you need to find a way to take everything you're dealing with and kind of a way to release it. And so for me, it's like, I'm going to make some original art just from all the thoughts and feeling I have. And I'm going to put them in a little bag. It says free art with a little business card. And I'm going to hide them. And I was inspired by two people. One was Banksy. I love Banksy. We don't know who he is. I mean, we have all these ideas. But he just
he's out there.
Out there, his paintings immediately show up. They're phenomenal. They're storytelling and they're captivating. And the other one's Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk is, pretty much the godfather of skateboarding just because, and he won't like say he's the best. He knows he's not the best. He's phenomenal. Yeah. But he knows he's been given a platform and he used that platform to help the whole skate. I mean, I don't think skateboarding would be where it is if it wasn't for him, how he uses his fame and notoriety and wealth to help others. He has a whole nonprofit people should just look up about how he builds skate parks in all these towns for places. That's cool. But everywhere he goes and travels, he always hides skateboards and shirts in these crazy places. Like, hey, I'm in New York City at this park under this bench. Here's a brand new deck. I just signed it or I just skated it. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hide stuff in just random places, and I'm not gonna stay and see what happens. I'm like, here it is, and I leave. And so after multiple occasions of doing that and having it, I started getting a little bit of feedback, and people like, hey, I found your art. This is really cool. I started meeting some people I didn't know were in our town or different places, and I'm hiding them everywhere from here in Lakeland to state parks.
Yeah, no, trips. I think if I remember right, I found one before at Mitchell's Coffee House.
Yeah, Mitchell's was like, since it was like the main coffee shop at the time, and now we have many opportunities. And then one day somebody's like, hey, I found your art. If I give you money, would you make something else for me? I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, what's that about? And I just slowly started getting these commissions and jobs. Yeah. And so I started making a website. Then I made some social media to go with it. And it just slowly took off. And I got these opportunities. And this was all while I was working at my last church. And then when we kind of like our chapter ended together, I met with some people around town. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I've been a youth pastor for 20 years. I also have my art taking off. It's like a side hustle. What do you think? And some of them were like your guests, like Tim Cox and and just a bunch of other great people, Andy McIntyre. And they all said, go for following your art, see what happens. And so we're like, all right, let's do it. So we just, now that I have full time to put towards it instead of just like a side hustle, it gets more attention, it gets more love, it gets more attention. Anyway, like I think 6 months to that happening, I got an email from Starbucks. And so I have this printed out hanging on my office wall, and they're like, hey, would you like to work with us? And
that's wild.
That's a whole other story about how I got to do that mural at the Southgate Starbucks. Yeah. And then after that, I'm like, all right, I do murals now. And then it just started progressing.
Yeah. Was that your first mural in town?
That was my first big one. I've done my first little ones I did was at House 820, Gospel Inc.'s main office next to House 820. And then Wonder Here, which was a small school that used to be downtown. Yeah. Those are and I used overhead projectors because we didn't have like those. I didn't know you can use these big movie projector. Remember all this thing that I stole from the church to use transparencies and just old school.
For sure, yeah, dude, that's so crazy. I like the Southgate Starbucks. It feels like that was actually a while ago, wasn't it? Like I remember when it opened and we like they were doing like little test stop bys and all that stuff. And I remember seeing the mural for the first time. I didn't realize that was your first one.
And for some reason, my signature wasn't on it because the way how we produced and put it up there. So I snuck in with some paint and painted my signature on that one. It's on there now. Yeah, but nice. It was just it was really cool to like, holy cow, I got to work with a major corporation. And 6 months before that, I'm like, what do I do next? I had no idea. So it just shows if you hustle, you stay true to it. And, I wasn't trying to seek attention or fame. I'm just like, I need to put dinner on the table. I got to pay for our bills. I got a mortgage. And it's just crazy how it led to where we are today. And one other thing too, when my art was starting to take off, there was this guy, his name's Andy J. Miller. Y'all should follow him on Instagram, Andy J. Pizza. He has the Creative Pep Talk. It's a phenomenal podcast. Yeah. I would just blast this guy on his Instagram DM like, hey, what should I do for this? How do I do this? I tried to join any class he offered.
It's cool.
He's like, dude, let's Skype. So that was the thing back then. So we Skyped for 2 hours and we just went through this whole like because I was trying everything from watercolor to painting to drawing, doing comic books and fantasy, and building furniture. I was building like coffee tables and wine racks
Nice.
out of pallets back in the day. And he's like, let's pick 12 of each of our favorite things, and then we'll merge the 12 to 12, and that will help kind of define your aesthetic and your style.
Yeah.
And he's like, but first, before we do any of that, what do you hate? What do you not like to do? And I'm like, I don't like to do color because I don't think color. I think black and white. So he's like, go delete everything you've done in color off your website and social media.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what helped lead to people knowing me is for doing black and white or one or two colors. And now I feel comfortable with it. Now I'm doing different things. But
For sure.
he really helped me craft my aesthetic for what you see today. And 'cause, I mean, I was doing like realistic portraits and pet portraits and
All
wedding,
kinds of
these
stuff.
things.
Yeah.
But this kind of like, it's like a folk art type vibe.
Well, it's cool.
to it.
Yeah. And now it is very true. Like your art, like you can tell, especially if you're like Lakelander in the Central Florida area, like this is your art. Like this is your style.
I'll tell you what, man, the most encouraging thing, because people are so sweet here. I owe Lakeland all of it because they've helped me get to where I am today and helped with everything. But when people come up and say what you just said, like, I knew it's yours because I could see by the art.
Yeah.
I mean, that just, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. You work your butt off to get somewhere and do something. You don't know what's going to happen. I have the same imposter syndrome everybody else has. I have the same fears of posting something as everybody else does.
Yeah. 100%.
And it never leaves, but I also get the goosebumps every time I get a commission. I'm working on something for Florida Southern right now, which has been a dream.
That's
Because
awesome.
I'm like, I get it's a college, but I mean, it got that history with Frank Lloyd Wright. And
For sure, yeah.
I've done a lot of other things here, but I have my own weird goals of things I want to do. And so it's been fortunate to do a couple things with them recently.
Yeah. Well, just like what you just said, I think is good for people to hear too. It's like you still have that, like, what was the word you used? Like the insecurities of like the posts or like the
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome too. Like I don't think that ever really goes away.
Yeah.
And it's actually good to know of like, you're gonna, like if you want to grow anything, so many people who've sat in that chair there, and we've had this conversation too over this podcast. I've just heard of like, oh man, it just kept going at it. It's like a dream that I've had. And some people are maybe more or less like there, like you're doing your art and all that. And some people are still like in the process. But I don't think you get to the point you really want to be at and seeing what you love thrive if you don't feel uncomfortable every now and then.
Right.
Like
And
being
you need
willing
it. It helps you. I mean, you got to have a recharge. You got to like kind of like revisit your stuff. You got to like, am I still giving my best? Should I change? Because you are supposed to evolve. You are supposed to change. It's one thing to have your standard thing, but as an artist, you're still growing and learning. It's the same with people who are athletes and people continue education and things like that.
Yeah, and being willing to do that. Yeah.
And so since I'm kind of self-taught, I didn't go to school for any art other than like high school. I did like a brief semester in college, but it was mainly just doing still lifes. You're not really learning anything, just about lighting and shading. But so I realized like when I looked at my way I did anatomies and things, I'm like, this is bad. So I got some books and just kept practicing and trying and learning like the whole skeletal structures and all the muscles and tissues, just how a body really looks. And now it looks all folky and cartoony, but it just
all that for now. Like, but I love what you do, man. It's cool to with one more minute left as we kind of wrap up this episode too, but it's cool to obviously have known of you for a while. Our paths have crossed a couple times too. We were neighbors for a year or two, and like to just see the passion behind the art to the story behind it. And that's what I love too about our city. And I think what's a thing that makes Lakeland so unique as well is we have so many cool things that also just have cool like things and places, and obviously people behind them that just have really great stories.
Right.
And it's just awesome to hear yours. And I think it's motivating for people. And I think it helps people learn. Like that's kind of a goal here too with this show is like, man, if you have like a dream, like I hear people's stories and it gives me a little bit of hope. Even if our, hobbies or our things are completely different,
right,
or like our careers, whatever, are different, it gives me hope of, oh man, I can keep doing this,
And I just want to encourage people like the book says, try new things, get out there, do it. And if you are, you can ask. I mean, you can ask me if you want or others, but there's so many phenomenal artists here in town. I just got to do this huge mural campaign for Summit. I got to work with the best artists here in Lakeland, like Juan and Kat, John Sierra, Jillian,
That's awesome.
Megan Carroll, and Tim Haas. I mean, they are some of the, I think, just my personal opinion, but they're some of the best artists, and just to be included with them and seeing us all get to work together and see this company excited about it, it's like focusing local art. I hope our museum sees that.
Yeah.
The old Polk Museum. local art and just other places here, because I mean, as a community, like we thrive if we work together and help each other out. And I just, hope we see more of that. But people who want to get their foot out there, you got to hustle.
For sure.
Get some advice.
Dude, well, thank you so much again for being on the show,
you.
man. I want to roll up the red carpet for you though, too. Like, how can people keep up with you, find maybe some of your art, this book and things like that?
Yeah, I'm always hiding art around town. If you follow me on social media, like just Bump Galletta, 2 L's, 2 T's on Instagram and Facebook. And I mean, if you follow me on one, you see everything on the same. I broadcast.
Just pick your favorite. Yeah.
Just whatever I likes. But I try to give back. I'm going to try to do some stuff for people who've been supporting me. We got some cool things in the works. I got a new coloring book we're about to put out.
Nice.
And it's going to be one of my favorite things to draw. And so, yeah. So,
this is awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much, man. I appreciate being on.
Yeah, go team. Thanks.